Welcome everyone to This Savage Life. I'm Josh. That is the lovely Miss Sherry over there. And we're back again. And we promised you, I think, in the pilot episode, we were going to talk about some true crime stuff. And tonight we figured we would talk about everybody's favorite cannibal, Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, pretty sick individual Jeffrey was. He was one of the most chilling names in criminal history. So we're going to take a little journey into the twisted psyche of the killer who shocked the world with his heinous crimes. So Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21st in 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which makes him a Gemini, which I am also.
And that explains a lot.
Exactly. As a child, Dahmer displayed signs of psychological disturbance, cruelty to animals, fascination with dissecting dead animals, and the early behaviors often referred to as the McDonald triad are considered potential indicators of future violent tendencies. So he was the perfect storm of serial killer.
Now, let me stop you there. It was his father that got him into this, right? Like, his father would take him out to pick up roadkill and things like that, correct?
Yeah, he kind of supported his fascination with the anatomy and
death.
You know, because he wanted to keep the bones, and he was doing weird stuff with them, but they didn't think much of it at the time. So, that fascination with death really kind of put that in his psyche there. So, he, in the future, his future crimes, you could really tell that, he was very disturbed on that level. So his fascination with death escalated. In 1978, when he was 18, he committed his first murder. Dahmer lured 19-year-old Stephen Hicks to his family home, where he bludgeoned Hicks to death with a barbell. They were working out, and apparently Jeffrey blacks out, doesn't know what happens, and he murders this kid.
Do you buy the whole blackout story?
It's possible that he doesn't remember it quite the way it happened because of just the situation. He fell into that dark place. He said in many interviews, that he had demons or something evil inside of him. Yeah. And I could see where that fascination overwhelmed him enough to where, maybe he blacked out, like in a fit of rage type situation.
What caused him to kill his first kill? Like, what happened? What was the situation that made him take that barbell and hit the guy? Was there something that sparked it, or?
He just had that fascination with wanting to kill.
So basically, just kind of got that moment of I want to do it.
To do what he had been fascinating about doing.
Gotcha.
So he dismembered the body and disposed of it in a wooded area near the property. And this was just the beginning of his horrifying spree. His 13-year killing spree, to be exact. Dahmer would claim the lives of 17 young men and boys, committing some of the most horrific acts of brutality and depravity ever recorded. Many of Dahmer's victims were drugged, raped, dismembered, and a truly chilling display of inhumanity would often engage in necrophilia, cannibalism, and attempts to preserve body parts as trophies. The dude had head, in his refrigerator.
Didn't they find an ass somewhere? Like a little...
They found lots of body parts in his apartment. I mean, he had the infamous blue drum that he was dissolving their body parts in to get rid of the evidence.
One guy he drilled or something, or...
Yeah, he drilled into their brain to try to, essentially lobotomize them, and he poured acid in there. His goal was to make a zombie. He had an issue with what do you call it? Separation,
anxiety.
His family left him essentially at one point. His mom left him there with his dad, or which was it? Did his dad leave or his mom leave?
His dad left, and then his mom left, and he was in the house by himself.
And so he was, as a teenager, left. That's when he started drinking a lot. So he wanted to keep somebody. That was his goal, was to try to keep them for as long as he could and keep them in his control.
Okay, so let's go back to his first crime. Obviously, he chose a male. Obviously, he had a fascination with death. And at this point in time, I guess he's kind of getting down that track of he prefers boys to girls. So I wonder if at this point in time, when he makes his first kill, if he's not having that kind of anger and stuff at realizing that, because back in the 70s and 80s, being gay was still, I'm not going to say it wasn't accepted because it was coming more and more to light, but it was still one of those things that, people were still killing people that were gay. They did not accept it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that anger and stuff built up due to him realizing that he not only is he weird, but he has a fascination with guys.
Yeah, I guess, he felt out of place. He didn't know. He was confused with his sexuality, and that also fed into all of his, paranoia and anger, and he didn't know what to do. And of course, being gay back then was not really, it was kind of I guess, frowned upon thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't accepted like it is today.
I wonder if fear, maybe he made a pass at the guy or something, and the fear of this guy saying something, it was better to kill him than to let him,
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible. He might have tried to make a move, and Stephen Hicks decided that he wasn't down for that. He was just there to hang out, but so it could be any of those things.
So he was 18 years old when he committed his first murder.
Yes, he was 18 years old when he killed Stephen Hicks, and Stephen Hicks was 19.
Yeah, and it was 3 weeks after graduating that he committed his first murder.
Yeah. And so that was the beginning of that's when the cannibalism started. So it wasn't until 1991. So from 78 to 91, he was in the dark. That's when his crimes were brought to light. When one of his intended victims, Tracy Edwards, managed to escape from Dahmer's apartment and led police back to the scene, what they discovered was beyond their worst nightmare. Of course, I could not imagine walking into that apartment. The smell had to have been just insane. Of course, Jeff always had a explanation for it. Like, oh, my freezer went out and it was full of meat and it rotted, and this and that.
And I think it's important to point out too that Jeffrey actually was an alcoholic. He had a severe problem with drinking. And that's another thing. Of course, when you drink, it alters, if you drink enough, it alters your reality. You kind of do things you wouldn't normally do. So that probably on top of everything else.
Yeah, I think he probably drank a lot to try to suppress his demons, as he said. So
I would agree with you on that.
He was trying to keep them suppressed, because he didn't know what to do with it until it happened, and that's why he tried to keep his victims, because he didn't want to kill anybody else again. He was just trying to make him a zombie sex slave, and that way he wouldn't have to go out and do it again. But he could never figure it out, and that's why he kept the pieces of them and he ate them so that they would be a part of him. He wanted them to be with him always. So, yeah, really, really messed up. So after...
Yeah, let's go to the second victim. I think his name was Stephen Toomey, or probably butchering the name, but
yeah, I don't have the names in front of me.
Stephen Toomey.
Yeah, and then those wasn't that one of the brothers?
It's one of the ones he picked up from a bar and took him to a hotel room. Woke up the next morning, and that's the one that apparently he had beaten to death. And he says he has no memory of this murder ever taking place. So, honestly, I don't think we're going to get through all of Jeffrey Dahmer's stuff. The only truths that I think we've ever gotten is truth about what happened to the bodies, what happened to the victims. I don't think the stories that Dahmer's given is going to be 100% accurate. I mean, I don't buy that you have no memory of beating the shit out of somebody. Have you ever hit somebody? It hurts. It hurts your hand. If you hit somebody, you're likely to break your knuckles or break a finger, or so. If you're beating somebody to death, you're repeatedly hitting them.
He didn't say he didn't feel like he beat someone to death the next day. He just doesn't remember what happened.
But that's my point. If I pinch you when you're asleep, you're going to wake up because that pain's going to wake you up. So, I mean, if you're sitting there repeatedly punching and beating somebody, you're hurting yourself. That pain would wake you up. It would snap you out of it. So I don't know that I buy 100% that he has no memory.
Well, you got to remember that he was also heavily drinking, and he was drugging people. And there was a few instances, like in the Netflix series, where that second guy he has in the hotel room, he gets the drinks mixed up because he's so drunk, and he drinks the one that is...
I think that's the one he beat.
And then he wakes up and the dude's dead because he beat him to death. He smashed his face in.
That's that one. So I guess it's possible if he had actually meant to drug the guy and drugged himself instead.
Yeah, because that was his thing, was drugging him to get him to pass out, and then he could do what he wanted to do. But he got sloppy because he was a drunk.
Right.
And so, yeah, I can see where he would not remember all of the events that took place because of the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, I've been drunk before. I'm sure we all have. And
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's been, or we've been Dahmer drunk.
no, I don't think I've ever been Dahmer drunk.
I've never been Dahmer drunk. I don't even like to drink and get drunk. So, yeah. So they uncover this just horror movie of a scene. Dahmer's arrest brought further revelations into the disturbing extent of his crimes. The infamous apartment 213 on North 25th Street in Milwaukee was found to be a house of horrors containing evidence of torture, murder, and unspeakable acts. During Dahmer's trial, the full extent of his chilling obsession and words are hard, sorry, EVP, intricately planned rituals were laid bare. Yeah, like the dude had like a shrine to people in his house. Like he had like an altar. He was also obsessed with The Exorcist 3. Which,
yeah, he did preserve the genitalia of some of his victims. It wasn't just skulls. He did use skulls. He dismembered them, of course, as Josh said. And then he would take the skulls and he would display them. And these are human skulls.
I think I remember hearing, or it just might be a thing, that he would eat like out of the skull, like
like
a bowl,
a dish, like using it for like a dish.
So like to cross the streams here, you go back to Ed Gein. Ed Gein dug up bodies and kept body parts. The dude had a box of salted vaginas under his bed.
His
he had a belt
made of nipples. Yes. A belt made out of nipples. Salted, belt. I like that.
Salted vaginas under his bed in a shoebox.
I mean,
Jeffrey was not the first.
Oh gosh, no. There was so many more. I mean, think of H.H. Holmes. He had a murder hotel, rooms designed to kill people. I mean, so yeah, this goes way back, way back. I'm sure there was serial killers back in medieval times, probably for as long as men been around. But Dahmer, it wasn't until some of these 60s and 70s killers that it started coming out that there are people, of course, they were dubbed in the 70s to be serial killers. And of course, that was the task force that caught Bundy. They're the ones that did the whole dubbing serial killer. And after that, it's like they just started coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Dahmer and Manson and Bundy and Gacy. Ramirez, all of them were in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. What a time to be alive.
I was.
So anyway, okay, so his, we talked about his modus operandi included luring vulnerable young men into his apartment, often with the promises of money or drugs. He liked to take pictures. That famous little meme from the Netflix series, I just want to take some pictures.
Yeah, he was actually asking them to come back and model for him.
Yeah.
And of course, back in that time, everybody was wanting to be megastars, and that's when being a rock star and a model, all that was really starting to go big. So you mentioned, I want to take pictures of you. I want you to model. Most people are like, oh, yeah, I want my big break. But yeah, little did they know they got a break, just not the one they were looking for.
Yeah. So, of course, once inside, he would incapacitate them through drugs or alcohol, preparing them for the unspeakable horrors that they would endure. So, following his conviction in 1992, Dahmer was sentenced to 16 life terms in prison. However, we all know his time behind bars would be short-lived because on November 28th in 1994, old Jeffrey was murdered by a fellow inmate in Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin.
Yep.
So, the trial and subsequent media coverage of the Dahmer case would not only shock the world, but would expose major deficiencies within the law enforcement and criminal justice system. Many questions arose regarding how Dahmer's actions went undetected for so long, and why his cries for help from potential victims were ignored. Like, yeah, the police brought one of the victims back to him, or people had called the police and said, "Hey, something's wrong. This kid has been drugged or something," and he just comes out, "Oh, we're just having a lover's quarrel," and they're like, "All right, guys, you go back inside."
And this was a minor.
And he was like, "Yeah, he was a minor." So, yeah, I can see where that,
And it was two women that were out there with this 15-year-old, and they're like, "Officer, there's something wrong with this. This is a kid. He's not an adult." But Dahmer was such a smooth talker that he was able to talk the officers into releasing this child, which he claimed was an adult, back to Dahmer after he had escaped Dahmer. So, yeah, there was some major deficiencies there for sure.
Yeah. So, Jeffrey Dahmer's case remains a stark reminder of the depths of evil that can exist within the human psyche. His crime shocked the world and exposed the flaws in the justice system. Although Dahmer is no longer with us, his legacy continues to haunt us. We are left with grappling questions about the dark recesses of the human mind, the nature of evil, and the importance of identifying warning signs before tragedies occur. So, it's a fascination with the serial killer mind. Like, how do you get to those dark places? I think what fascinates most people, and why true crime, serial killer stuff is a big topic. You got people that are like fans of serial killers, but it's really not fans of that. It's more the why. The where did it start? How did this happen?
That's what got me started, and that's why I started my criminal justice degree. I started out just wanting to, watching these shows, not even just serial killers, but people in general, how they could just kill. Now, I get it. There's drive-by shootings. There's turf wars, gang wars. There's, what's it called? When you love somebody, you kill them.
Crime of passion.
Yeah, crime of passion. Things like that. I get. It's not accepted. I don't think murdering anybody is ever acceptable, but those are kind of like you expect it. It's going to happen, but we're talking about somebody who kills somebody and then escalates as they're going to doing lobotomies on people, putting them in acid. Just
he ate them
and kept body parts.
People
ate out of their skulls, body parts in the fridge. You go from just killing to there's something really, really wrong upstairs with this guy. That's
But he was
not something you
so
see.
good at hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like that. There's this one creepy clip of him, like a home video, where he's sitting there talking to his family, and they're talking to him, about how he's doing and everything. And they'd always been concerned with his alcoholism and everything, but he's all like, "Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been eating a lot of McDonald's." Yeah, he's been eating a lot of McBoys.
And how many times did that woman complain to the landlord and stuff about?
Oh yeah, about the smell. Yeah.
Yeah, the smell in the apartment, the noises that were coming from the apartment, things like that.
Yeah, he was just so good at manipulating people that he was able to get away with it for so long. It's crazy how that can just happen. But got some more fun facts.
Yeah,
about Jeffrey.
Getting like someone like him, I understand the need for people to get, I don't want to call revenge, but in a way that's what it is, by sentencing them to death and so forth. But people like him, people like me who are going to school for this stuff and trying to get to the why, we're not going to get to that why if we keep executing these people before we get answers. Being able to talk to them when they finally open up, being able to talk to these people and study them, interview them, and get them to start talking, those are what's going to help us find the why. But if we execute them, well, essentially he was murdered anyways, but
yeah.
there are those who could have been studied but were executed. But someone like Dahmer, it's rare. It really is. I'm not saying cannibals are rare. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there, but a Dahmer is rare. And he would have been the perfect person to study, to get inside his head. He had a relatively normal childhood, other than once he got in his teen years, things started to change. But he had a relatively normal childhood. Now, a lot of these killers, when they start reaching that status, a lot of these killers have been abused by their parents or molested by their parents, or different things that has messed up their childhood, and they completely just like BTK. He had a hate for women, and like Ed Gein, like Josh was saying earlier, Ed Gein is another one of those. He was abused by his mother, verbally, mentally, physically, emotionally, any which way you can. And his hate for women because of that. Same with Ed Kemper. Ed Kemper's mother drove him absolutely nuts. So, with someone like Dahmer, who didn't have that abuse, who didn't have, his dad kind of introduced him to death and bodies and stuff like that, but he escalated from animals to humans. So he's one of those people that is rare. And I don't want you to think that, I don't think he deserved what he got, because clearly he did, but the the being able to study these people, especially one that's very like Dahmer, is how you get to the why. So that's my opinion. And I apologize for coughing and stuff. I've been really congested and had a cold, so.
Yeah. Here's a patient you didn't know. There's your boy Jeff. With his iconic
big old glasses. Coke bottle glasses.
So, looks like, everyday normal guy.
I was just saying, looking at him there, he doesn't have that serial killer look. I mean, in the eyes, kind of, maybe. But he looks like a normal person. He doesn't look like somebody that's about to go out and kill somebody.
I don't know. I can't say that because I've seen him now. So now you see that guy like, that's a serial killer.
Yeah.
But, back then, you see him, you would never would have thought it.
Yep. I mean, he looks so normal.
Yeah.
But isn't that the case with most serial killers?
Yeah, I mean, look at Bundy. Like, women were fascinated with him.
And trusted him so easily.
Yeah. Like, he had his own little fan club there, even though he was out murdering women.
Yeah.
Like I was saying a while ago, before we got off, a few interesting facts about Jeffrey. He was obsessed with Star Wars, and he often wore yellow contact lenses to resemble the Emperor's eyes.
Oh, do you have a picture of that? I know there was a picture.
Let me see if I can find one real quick.
Yeah, I know there was a picture of him.
So if you're listening, you can Google it. But
yeah, I don't know. He's one of those that was kind of all over the place. And at one point, didn't he also have when he was staying with his grandmother, he had a mannequin or something he was caught with?
Yeah, he had a mannequin that he would sleep with and do whatever to. But that was something that he could keep.
Until she told him to get rid of it.
And he got upset when he had to get rid of it. So there's no actual pictures of Jeff wearing the contacts that I can find. There's just the Netflix images.
We'll show that one because that one's close. It's pretty close. But yeah, I mean, everybody likes to wear contact. I wear red ones sometimes, but I mean they made a big deal out of that part of it. But in all honesty, him wearing those contacts didn't do nothing. It didn't affect who he was,
but it gave him that feeling.
Yeah, it gave him that feeling of power.
Yeah.
It's almost like when he put the contacts on, he wasn't Jeff anymore. He was some character.
His demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which so in his eyes made him powerful.
This is from the Netflix series Dahmer, and they did a great job casting because he's fairly close to Jeff.
Mm-hmm. And now people say they see Jeffrey everywhere.
Yeah. Jeff is everywhere. I pretty much covered all these other facts that I had listed here. Oh, his last job, he was a mixer at the Milwaukee Ambrosia Chocolate Factory, where he kept one of his victims' heads in his locker. Dude's there mixing chocolate and has a severed head in his locker.
And Mm. I don't even want to think if I had any of that chocolate.
Yeah. It's so weird. I heard a story. I don't know if it was on another podcast or something I read where they were talking to this guy, I guess had missed work there, and they were giving away either like some sort of cooking pan or a cutting board or something from the company, and Jeff gave him one, and so he still has that item that Jeffrey gave him because he was a coworker of his, which is strange.
Okay, so I actually have something on Dahmer as well. So in February of 2022, a woman in Green Bay, Wisconsin,
Go Pat, go.
Was awakened by a slamming door. Going downstairs, she found that a light had been left on in the basement. When she went to flip the switch, she made a horrific discovery. Her son's severed head was in a bucket. The murder and dismemberment of 24-year-old Shad Thyrion was shocking enough until authorities announced whom they had arrested, a woman named Taylor Shabiznes, 24. She's 24 years old, and who allegedly admitted to killing and dismembering Thyrion after consensual drug-fueled sex at his mother's house. Now, in a final twist, the suspect had an infatuation again
with Jeffrey.
With Jeffrey, yes, an infatuation with Jeffrey Dahmer and with Jeffrey Dahmer crimes. So he not only had a fan club, he had built some people out there killing because of it. Now,
well, that's only because we know.
Yeah, 30 years later, it's still the same. The former soldier continues to haunt Wisconsin. His horrific killings and cannibalism still the stuff of nightmares. And in this one case at least, a twisted inspiration. She was inspired by Dahmer to behead this guy after having drug-fueled sex with him. So, over 13 years, the mild-mannered Dahmer lured unsuspecting men from gay bars and bus stops with the promise of beer and money. And of course, like Josh said, once they got there, it was a whole nother thing. Now, he strangled them, desecrated their corpses, performed sex acts on them after they were dead, cutting them apart, boiling them, and eating them, and slashing their heads and other body parts all over his apartment. And of course, he was arrested in 1991. And, you know, we know what happened from there. But here it is, 30 years later, and you've still got people that are inspired by this guy who went around killing people. I mean, is that not something? And this was a female, and if you look her up, her name is Taylor Shabiznes. And yeah, Shabiznes.
Not just a business.
Yeah, but she was actually a beautiful girl, and she was so inspired by Jeffrey Dahmer. She went and cut off this guy's head and landed
in a bucket and left it in a bucket in the parents' basement.
And the parents are the ones that found him. So, I mean, you think about someone that is that sick inspiring people to go out and kill 30 years after he's gone. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, we all heard of copycat killers, of course. You've got people out there, like Josh was saying, you got people who are not inspired by them, but people like me who I'm fascinated by it, but for the why, for the study, for the, that's what I go to school for. But then you have people like her who are so inspired that they're going to go out and behead someone and leave their head in a bucket in their parents' basement. Crazy. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I couldn't imagine, like, I don't know. Dahmer's just one of those that you could talk for hours about him and debate everything from A to Z, but the fact of the matter is, he was one sick dude. He was what I would label evil.
Yeah, I think we got caught up on the eating people a while ago. Forgot all about the necrophilia. The dude was having sex with the dead victims.
Yeah.
Until he had to dispose of them.
And I don't know. I know that aside from Dahmer, Kemper did the same thing, necrophilia. And there was one other who did it, but tried to deny it.
Wasn't it Ridgway?
It may have been Ridgway.
I think it was Ridgway.
What was that other guy's name? The one that... He was in Alaska. And he's the one that hid murder buckets all over the United States. He had... his name starts with an I. But I can't think of it. Anyways, I don't know if he was one of those. I don't think he did. I think it was just Dahmer. I don't think Ed Gein ate him, did he? I think he more just...
No, because Ed Gein, he dug up already dead people.
Yeah.
And made stuff out of there. I mean, I think maybe he did.
I can't remember if he ate people or not.
I don't know.
I know Kemper didn't eat them, but he did do the necrophilia. Dahmer did it all. He just did it all.
Yeah.
Bundy, did he do? I think he was one that was accused of doing necrophilia as well, but he denied it.
Yeah, he did deny it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was him and Ridgway both.
Yeah.
Denied it.
But when you look at all of them, I'm sorry, but to me, Dahmer still comes back as one of the most evil. I mean, the things that he did to the body, he drove holes into this guy's head and poured acid in there to turn this dude into a zombie so that he could keep him as a pet, basically.
Yeah. He was trying to make a sick zombie.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard of another person doing that. Doing lobotomies and stuff on people other than actual doctors.
Yeah. No, you don't too much hear of the Jeffrey Dahmer style serial killer.
You know, that's why I said he was definitely rare.
Aria.
Sorry, the Winnie's playing with the bottle. She loves bottles. And anytime we have a bottle of water in her hand or something, she'll sit there and stare at the bottle and look at you, and then look at the bottle and look at you, and sit there and whine until you finally give her the bottle.
Yeah, she was already whining for the bottle, and I mistakenly let her have it. Sorry. But we're just about ready to wrap her up. So, yeah. Jeffrey, sick filler. I did have another little thing I was going to read. Not that I am a good reader, but I have a little poem about Jeffrey. So, here we go. In twisted tales of darkness bound, a name emerges, whispered, renowned. Jeffrey Dahmer, a heart unfeeling, an embodiment of evil revealing. In shadows cast upon his soul, an insatiable hunger took its toll, a craving born of twisted despair, a haunting madness beyond repair. Behind innocent eyes, a devil concealed, innocence shattered, humanity peeled. A monster disguised in human skin, for lust and blood, he did eagerly sin. In his deranged den, darkness prevailed, where tortured spirits wailed and wailed. Victims marked by pain, their lives redacted, Dahmer's twisted appetite never subtracted. A silent predator, prowling the night, seeking bodies to dismember, ignite. A macabre dance, his wicked charm, he played with lives, leaving none unharmed. From weakness to power, his path was clear, manipulating weakness, extinguishing fear. Trapped in a cycle of death and decay, Dahmer left sorrow and sorrow's dismay. But even in the darkest depths of he tread, the shadows trembled, filled with dread. For justice awaited, her scales unblurred, to bring light the evil he incurred. Caught in the web, his own madness spun, Dahmer faced a world that would not be won. Exposed his crimes laid bare to see, as the world watch in horrified decree. Jeffrey Dahmer, a name that etched in Jeffrey Dahmer, a name etched in infamy, a tale of horror inscribed in history, a reminder of the darkness lurking within, the capacity of evil to inflict sin. May the victims find solace, their spirits rise, as we learn from the past and open our eyes to recognize the monsters hidden in plain sight and keep our world safe from eternal night. Ta-da!
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Artificial intelligence wrote that poem. Just so you know.
Artificial intelligence seems to be doing a lot lately.
So yeah, I had AI generate that poem, and it was pretty good. So, yeah.
Okay, I think it's only right, since we are talking about Dahmer, and we are talking about, his crimes and everything else, I think it's only right that we do share a photo of his victims. Because when it comes down to it, the crime's horrific, the killer's horrific, but the killer's the one that gets infamy, while the victims remain unspoken. So I think it's only fair, anytime you talk about a killer, especially one that's done something like this, that we share photos of the victims. In that way, we're at least honoring the victims and remembering them. And of course, when you hear about Dahmer crimes and stuff, it's not the victims that people talk about. It's Dahmer that people talk about. Dahmer's the one that's famous. The victims, not so much. So I think it's only right that we make them famous. We get their story out there. We're telling the story. Yes, it's Dahmer's story, but I think the victims need to be honored when you speak of the crimes that's committed.
Yeah, they all get their day too. The victims seem to, you know.
Do you want to read the names? Because I can't see that well.
You got Straughter, Hicks, Guerrero, Weinberger, Dockstrader, Beeks, Lacey, Lindsay, Synthesphone, Miller, Hughes, Bradoff, Turner, Sears, Thomas, and Smith. So those were the 17 victims that Jeff took. So, yeah, none of them deserved what they got.
And anytime you tell the story, at least try to take a moment to mention the victims, always, because they're the real story.
Yeah.
It's sad what happened, and yeah, we want to study the killer, but you still have to remember that this person wouldn't be famous if it weren't for the victims, and those victims did not deserve what they got. So, yeah.
No, they sure did not. Because
now, I will say there was one guy that did escape, and that is ultimately how Dahmer was caught. One guy, the last guy that he tried to take, escaped, got out of the house, and went to the police. I think there was a patrol car or something. I think there was a patrol car or something driving around, and he stopped the cop and said, "Hey, look, this is what happened," and blah, blah, blah. And then they went up there, and they found
the horror.
Yeah. So I do want to say thank you for that guy for being brave enough to get out of that house and get to the police, not go home, not stay silent, but get to the police, speak up, and ultimately Dahmer was caught because of it. So he's a brave, brave, brave guy.
Yeah. Yeah, because for some people, it's hard. You know, you get scared. I mean, he was brave enough to go and
get out of that house and get help. If it hadn't been for him, Dahmer would probably been killing for a long time until he finally got caught. But he was pretty savvy, so he probably could have went on for years before being caught. But yeah, I know we kind of blew through it. We try to keep the podcast, ultimately around an hour. We don't want to tie up anybody's,
And there's so much out there about Jeffrey, so we just wanted to kind of talk on it and give our 2 cents on some things and, see what you guys think. So, feel free to drop a comment, an email, whatever. Remember, follow us on all things This Savage Life Podcast. Email is thissavagelifepodcast@gmail.com. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, rate, review, comment, all that stuff. So even if it's bad, I don't care.
Feedback is feedback.
We want some feedback to know if, what we're doing is entertaining enough for you. But
and also, if you have any ideas for a topic that you would like to discuss, drop that on us too. We're more than happy to talk about it.
Yeah. or just continue the conversation about this. You got anything you want to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
We might bring it up on the next one and kind of rehash. But yeah, so this dog is begging to go out, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We thank you all for joining us again. Like I said, go like, follow, review, share, get us out there. It's the only thing you can do to help us right now. Yeah, so we will see you guys next week. Stop crying. Trying to wrap it up. Come, oh, you want, here, hold on. Oh, if you're not watching, you're not gonna see that I got my wiener out. And they're licking me. Okay. All right. Well, Aria, tell everybody bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening, and like he said, follow us on everything.
Yes, please do. And remember who you are and what you stand for. We'll see you next time. Peace.